Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome each and every one of you to once again a new League of Legends video. Today I wanted to make sort of another discussion type of video talking about one of my personal favorite champions in League of Legends and overall the current state of that champion as well. And if by now you somehow haven't guessed which champion we're talking about, then it is going to be the Emperor of Shurima, AZIR. Now, AZIR has been known to be more or less the god of mid lane for several patches in a row, especially at the higher level of play. When you're talking about maybe Diamond or Masters or even Challengers or even all the way up and especially in the competitive scene, AZIR has been an absolutely dominating champion, very frequently picked, having a lot of pressure in his kit and overall just what he can add to the team, and he's been a highly contested pick. But it now seems like his reign may finally come to an end, or at least temporarily. Because if you look at this screenshot right here, AZIR is sitting at 41.41% win rate, being the second lowest of all the mid lane champions according to champion.gg, which tracks ranked statistics on platinum and above games. And comparing him to how he was in the previous patches, I mean, he never really had the highest win rate in the world because yeah, he is a very complex champion. He takes a lot of games to understand and to play to his maximum, but the more you play him, the higher his win percentage will be. As you can see here, if you play over 125 games, again according to champion.gg, your win ratio is going to be just under 47%, around 46. But the sad thing is, playing 125 games only to achieve, on average, about a 46% win rate with the champion, it just doesn't feel like it's worth it. Especially if you compare him to someone like Gangplank, who in my opinion is a more difficult champion than AZIR, or at least on equal. But if you also spend enough time to play over 125 ranked games with Gangplank, your win ratio on average, apparently, again according to this site, is going to be sitting at about 57%, which is considerably higher than AZIR'S. So on top of just investing a lot of time in this champion to only get about a 48 or so % win rate, he's also sitting at the third lowest win rate across all champions at the very moment, even under someone like Kalista. And I seriously believe that if Rise was not a new champion or just recently been reworked, AZIR would probably be in the lowest spot. Now I'll be talking more about, just why exactly is AZIR in just such a poor state. I mean, how did it just out of nowhere happen? He went from being still considered to be one of the best mid laners for a very long time to out of nowhere, potentially one of the worst. At least according to his statistics. And then we will be talking about a potential mini AZIR rework incoming in a later patch. Now all the things I'll be mentioning are going to be more or less referenced here and there from a Reddit post, either from users or from a rioter himself, Riot Gypsy. So if you want to check it out for yourself for whatever reason, I'll have a link to it down below. So let's take a very quick look at AZIR'S past. I mean, what exactly happened to him that ended up building up this catastrophe of just AZIR? He has been getting nerfs here and there for a very long time, even though most of the patches have just been bug fixes. But as a TLDR, Riot has been trying to nerf down AZIR, especially based on his competitive success, to the point where, he can be a very okay champion, but not be considered to be just a flat-out pick or ban type champion. But more notably, way back in patch 5.14, one of the biggest changes happened to AZIR. Now, this wasn't necessarily a do or die, but this did affect him negatively by quite a bit. And this was when Morale-Nomicon was no longer a core item because he no longer benefited off of cooldown reduction in relation to his attack speed gain. And his E ability lost the potential to knock up the first champion hits, which was at first a very bad thing because it felt like, this was really core to his kit to set up the perfect Shurima shuffle, but it no longer felt like that was possible. But even after this, people still realize, AZIR, even though this is a nerf, he's still a very good champion. I mean, he can still do a lot of great things. But Riot felt like, maybe a little bit of extra power was necessary. So a few patches later, they ended up giving him that nice little quality of life buff where using his Shurima shuffle with his EQ just felt much more fluid. But this was way back in patch 5.24. But then came along patch 6.11 where you can no longer use AZIR'S W to put it on towers and deal extra damage, and his ultimate's duration got heavily reduced, especially at rank 3, and no longer will your allies be granted extra movement speed when passing through AZIR'S ultimate. So this greatly hindered AZIR'S potential when it comes to sieging turrets because, well, using this ability, his W on a tower was extremely important to his kit to actually destroy towers much quicker. Now to me personally, I don't think this was a big big issue, he still was a very strong champion. But then came along patch 6.14, the patch we're currently on. And this is where he received yet another nerf, this time to his W, what is considered to be his bread and butter because it's pretty much his auto attack. Now, this alone isn't necessarily the game-changing thing, but when you take into account this on top of everything else he's also received, put it into one basket and you have a somewhat fairly weak Emperor of Shurima. But this specific nerf to his W is definitely a pretty big one when you really think about it, because it heavily nerfs down his power and overall just what he can do in the mid game by a lot, and the mid game right now in League of Legends is a very important one. He's just simply not as much of a threat as he used to be. His all-in potential and just the damage he can do around, let's say maybe level 11 or level 12 is just nowhere near as much. And this pretty decent big nerf to him on top of everything else he's also received, again, just put it all together and it just hit him way too hard and he finally fell down onto his knees. So all of this put together seems to be why AZIR'S is just not a very good champion at the very moment. Now the next thing I want to talk about is going to be what potentially might happen to AZIR'S in the future to essentially address this issue. So in the Reddit thread that I linked below in the description, there was a pretty big post done by Riot Gypsy where he talked about the overall design philosophy of AZIR'S. Now the post is pretty big, so if you want to read it for yourself, I definitely recommend going to the thread and checking it out. But the part I want to focus on specifically is as follows. Riot Gypsy stated, and I quote, "I imagine to get AZIR'S into an actually good spot without a large scope rework, we're going to have to do one of two things. We either support his ranged hyper carrying by removing Shurima Shuffle so he cannot use his Q while dashing, or we support the Shurima Shuffle by giving him a significant range nerf and increased tankiness or other things and make him a mid-range battle mage." He then also mentions at the very end of the post saying, "I think it's 100% possible to get a well-balanced AZIR'S that's strong, fun to play, and doesn't need to be permaban or picked in competitive. Just feels like we'd have to make some hard to swallow changes to get there." Now, hard to swallow is definitely the right words to use here because they're considering potentially removing the Shurima Shuffle where he can no longer use his Q while dashing. Now this, I personally believe to be, is just not a good idea. I mean, you're just removing a core mechanic, or at least what feels to be a core mechanic, one that really makes AZIR'S or separates AZIR'S from other champions, just completely take it off from his kit. It'll remove a lot of really cool things and plays that AZIR'S can make, and it'll just dumb him down to just another mage that chills in the back and just simply pokes from afar until his team can go in and clean the rest. So if they were to somewhat rework AZIR'S and remove it, I have to say I would be very disappointed. But the second option he gave is a lot more interesting. The option where they do support the Shurima Shuffle by giving him a significant range nerf and increased tankiness and other things. Now if you have to choose one of the two, I would definitely choose this second one because it still keeps his core mechanic or his core gameplay that everyone loves to see and to actually utilize for themselves on AZIR'S. And I feel like it would give him a bit more of a unique playstyle if he were to be a little bit more tanky, because then he would truly be a battle mage rather than being someone that can chill in the back and poke heavy, but at the same time he would also lose his power to be a mage that can, like I said, be in the back and poke people down from afar and then looking for the right opportunity to finally go in for the Shurima Shuffle. I mean, either way you look at it, it doesn't really seem like there's a win-win scenario for our Emperor, because just like Riot Gypsy said, to get to the point where AZIR'S is in a really good spot, it will take a few hard to swallow changes to actually get there. But either way guys, that is about it for this video. I mean, let me know down in the comments below, what do you think about this whole topic, about AZIR'S current state, about a potential rework coming in for AZIR'S as well, and just overall, I mean, what should be done with AZIR'S? What do you guys think? So if you did enjoy this video, if you enjoyed this type of discussion, then let me know by hitting that like button to show your support. Make sure to share this with your friends, let everyone else see the state of AZIR'S, one of the most popular and dominant mid lane champions, being almost brought down to his knees. So again, thank you all so much for watching, I really do appreciate it, and hope to see you for my next video. Peace.